Hey, what's up? I'm Joel Madden, and this is Artist Friendly. On this episode, I'll be talking to the lead singer of the band Sleep Theory, Cullen Moore. Let's go.
That's my kind. I don't want no bad times. I don't want to have bad.
I love your music.
Oh, thank you.
I've been jamming it. That's how I get ready for these conversations, is just listen to music. I don't do a lot of deep dives or anything. I just listen to music. The one thing that stood out to me that was really interesting was that you were in the Army. Mm-hmm. How long were you in the Army?
I was in for 3 years.
Okay. How was that?
It was an experience. Yeah. The one thing about the Army is a lot of people say it's the most fun that you never want to have again.
Right.
So it was it taught me a lot, and it's it taught me a lot, and it's definitely things I'm happy that I went and did, and I'm very thankful of that time in my life. So.
Where were you stationed?
I was in a unit. I was the National Guard, so I was in a unit in Corinth. I was stationed out in Corinth, Mississippi.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your service.
Well, thank you.
And then you go from the Army and you start Sleep Theory.
Yes.
And that's your first band?
No.
Okay.
I was in another local band in Memphis. It started back in end of 2017, beginning of 2018. And did that for a good little. Maybe it was earlier than that.
2010s.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So I did that with them for a little bit, and then ended up leaving that band and then starting Sleep Theory, which was unnamed for like a good chunk of that time. It didn't have a name.
Right. You're just making music.
Just making music. It was just myself and our producer Dave, and we were just trying to figure out what we wanted to do,
right.
and so it was probably about by the fourth song, which actually happened to be Another Way, that we really started setting in with the sound that we really wanted.
Right.
And that's how that went. And then
it's pretty cool to be able to, I'm guessing too, because that would be the beginning of really like putting music on TikTok, putting music on the internet in a way that was like, you can test things. Mm-hmm. I mean, right away if something's connecting with people. It's interesting, to be able to test out demos, really,
right.
that then become songs.
Yeah.
And some demos are the best version of a song will ever be. I know that from my experience. It's just sometimes you make a demo and then you try to redo it for an album and it never hits like the demo hit. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of times those songs get left behind because, well, back in the day when we were making records, we'd make all these demos. You couldn't just put them out.
Right.
You have to play them for people. Mm-hmm. one at a time or whatever, and then you'd go to make the record and that standout demo actually was never as good like when you made the record, and then you kind of all these other songs emerge as better sounding or more cohesive. And some of those demos we have tons of demos that are just sitting. I always think should you really we should now we could actually just put them on TikTok.
Right.
See, you just helped me with something. It was steal that. Never thought of that before.
Yeah, Another Way, actually, we wrote it back in 2021, and the way it released it was actually the way that it was once we finished. Believe it or not,
released it.
Yeah, we the way that the studio week would go whenever I work with Dave, we get in, we spend a week working on a song, and Another Way was written within a week, and we sat on it for a year, and then we're just like, let's release this. And then that was in 2021. And then in 2022, maybe. Yeah, it was May of 2022. We released it just as a local band. We just threw it up on Spotify and all the other DSPs or whatever it's called.
Put it out.
And it didn't perform the way that we thought it could. So we took it off. We were just like, well, we'll just wait for this to... Because we knew that the song was good, we just didn't have the exposure that it needed. So we took it off, and then we were just like, well, we'll just wait for some kind of way that we can push this the right way. And then 2023 came around. I was like, should I post this on TikTok? And I went back and forth in my brain. I was like, no, because we posted it back in 2022 and it didn't. It flopped. And I was just like, so I was kind of back and forth with it. And then on a whim, I was just like, whatever. And I posted it and went to sleep and woke up. And the next day it was blowing up. I texted Paolo. I was texting all the guys like, guys, repost this. And Paolo posted on his page. It blew up. I posted on my personal page first. It blew up there. Then Paolo posted it, and I posted it to the band's page, and it blew up. And so we were just kind of like, maybe we should kind of ride this out. And then, you know, I was like, well, you know, it's just a teaser. And so I was like, guys, we should probably go ahead and release this. And then Paolo was like, no, man, let it simmer. I was like, no, Paolo. I was like, normally with things with the internet, when people are interested, like they're interested.
They're going
but
that day.
I was like, but if you wait too long, like it's gone. I was like, we got to strike now. And posted it up, like, and it got up. We posted the teaser on January 12th. And by January 16th, I think it was up and going.
Sick.
Yeah, which is funny. The very first day of the Beartooth Tour this year was January 12th.
Sick.
So it was a year anniversary from the point that we had posted a TikTok from being a band that no one knew.
Yeah.
And then a year later on the day, we were on tour with Beartooth. So it's pretty cool.
That's dope. How's Beartooth? I love Beartooth.
Oh, they're fun.
They're dope.
Yeah, they're cool.
Nice guys too.
Yeah, it was a great experience.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's a good tour. It's a good tour for you guys.
Oh yeah, it was you know, it was we went out and it was us, Invent Animate, Plot and You, and Beartooth, and everybody's like, "Oh man, are you nervous?" I was like, "Nah,
We're gonna rip this shit.
just get up there and do it." You know, it's actually funny. The smaller stages are the ones that you feel a little bit weirder on. Like at least for us, we like felt a little bit weird on the smaller but the bigger ones we get to run around and do this and that, so we feel a little bit more at home.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun.
I think that too. That's a good crowd for you guys too. Mm-hmm. You have all the qualities I like in heavy music and harder rock music. Is some great melodies, great choruses, but I love when people know when to scream, how to scream. Do you do all the heavy screaming too?
Oh no. It's I do some weird scream thing.
Right,
I don't even know what it's.
Same
I
with me.
just do something and it works. And people
Who
are like,
does
"Oh,
the
it
heavy
sounds good."
stuff?
Daniel, the guitar player.
He's got a growl, dude.
Yeah.
It's heavy. It's cool. He really has some.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, it's funny because everyone thinks he's like a baby.
Right.
Apparently,
Well,
of course, he just looks so young, but he's the third oldest in the band. Him and Ben are brothers. So the guitar player and the drummer, they're both brothers, but everyone thinks that Ben is the older brother, but Daniel is the older, and he looks the youngest, and everybody's like, I wouldn't have expected this sound to come from this guy.
I feel that way about a lot of guys who scream good. I talk about them all the time because they're some of my favorite bands. Like I would say, like if I put in my top 10 bands, I would say Architects is one of them. And Sam doesn't strike me as like, he's not an angry guy at all. He's like the nicest guy ever. But when he screams, I feel like I feel the pain. And I feel the same way about Noah from Bad Omens. Like when he screams, I'm like, where does that fucking come from, dude? You're the nicest guy ever. Like, and I always wonder about those guys who scream.
Right.
And it sounds like they're fucking tormented.
Yeah, same thing with Landon from Plot and You. He's such a nice guy. So
They seem so sweet.
And he just starts screaming.
You hear him scream and you're like, what the fuck is going on, man? Well, what did you go through? I always wonder because it was like always the nicest guys with the heaviest, craziest, like best screams.
Right.
He's got a good scream.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, I know. A lot of the new stuff, one of the songs on the album that we're working on, he leaned into it a lot more. We're like,
that's good.
Like,
He's
wow.
really letting it out.
I was like, wow, didn't
dope.
expect this. But,
I love a good scream, man.
yeah.
I'm jealous. When did you start making music? What age were you?
I was 14.
Okay.
And my dad has always supported me doing it. And so
That's cool.
he would take me to different studios and, you know, and it first started in my friend's dad's studio. And then we went to another studio, and my dad had always been trying to help me and support me.
You guys are tight?
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Mom was always like, oh, you know, he needs to focus on school, this and that. I knew I wasn't ever going to focus on school.
We know what we know when
I
we
knew
know
I
it.
wasn't going to. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
I was the same way. I knew school wasn't going to do me any good.
Yeah, so he helped me go back and forth. I started music with my buddy. I was like 14. So it's been however many years that's been. So it's like 2008-ish.
Always rock?
Oh, yeah, it's all over the place.
Right.
It went from like alternative acoustic stuff to then, you know, whatever it was I was doing. I have no clue. It's just all over the place, man. Sometimes it'll be R&B. Sometimes it'll be a little bit more in the Fall Out Boy area
Yeah.
of things, and then it'd go back to being metalcore, and then here we are.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I started the same way. I actually have never told anyone this, but it just came to mind when you said that, because I was 13, 14 when I started getting interested in music, but I didn't know if I could make music. And then 15 was when me and my brother were like, oh, we could start a band.
Right.
We went to a concert and we were like, oh, look, I think seeing it in real life was like, oh, some real people are doing it. It's not just these imaginary people that you see in like on MTV. My very first experience with making music was we used to make little rap songs with our friends, and I used to rap.
I can't.
And that was how I started music, because I loved hip hop. I grew up listening to hip hop, and I started rapping, and I was making all these little demos on a karaoke machine, and just finding like these tapes would have the A side would be the song, the B side would be the beat. You remember that?
Yeah.
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 They'd have like some of them. Some of
Yeah.
the hip hop singles would have the song, and then on the other side there would be like the beat,
Yeah, the instrumental.
the instrumental. Yeah, that's what it's called. And I used to make these little rap songs. They're terrible. But I never really thought about how important that was to actually sing in a mic and practice a verse and keep trying. And then we were into the Beastie Boys, and we saw them play. We went and saw them play, and then we started Good Charlotte, and that was it.
That's cool. Yeah. I don't even know how I knew that I wanted to be a musician. My dad was a musician.
What did he do?
He just sang.
Okay.
He sang, and him and my uncle, whenever they were younger, they would go in and make these little demos and record them off of a whatever them old recorders are.
4-track or 8-track or
something.
Yeah.
Hey, they got the sound.
Yeah.
But then it was when I was around, I don't know how old I was, young, but him and my mom have a little music video that was just done off a little VHS.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so like he showed me that, and at that moment I was like, dude, this is what I want to do. Like, I didn't tell him that until like a few years ago, because it didn't really occur to me that is whenever I knew I wanted to be doing music. And so, man, I chased after it, and my dad would be like, man, there's nothing wrong with wanting to do. See, this is where he gets me. He was like, there's nothing wrong with having music. He's like, but you need to have a plan A. I was like, I appreciate. And then the music blew up. He was like, man, he's like, I always told you music was your plan A. I was like, no, you didn't.
This is plan A.
I was like, but he would tell me, go to school. I was like, yeah, this and that. But he knew I wasn't listening. He knew I knew some way, somehow I was going to, some way. I was always hyper focused on making it. I was like, I know I'm going to do it somehow.
Yeah, I think that the music business is a big mystery to everyone outside of it until you get in it. And then even when you're in it, the first 10 years, it's still kind of a mystery. You're like, so how does that happen? But then as you get time in it, any time in a space, right? Any space you're in, you start to build out your area, and then you build it out further and further. And then the ecosystem of it starts to make sense to you. You can predict the weather. You can see the dangers. You can see opportunities. You can start to see it. So I feel the same way. My mom was supportive in a sense of she would listen to our songs when we would record these little demos in our bedroom, but she was terrified of us not having a better life because she hadn't really figured it out. My dad was gone. And we didn't have anything. So I think she really just wanted us to solidify something in the world that was better, So she was like, go to school, try to go to college or get a good job, whatever a good job is, And we were just like, nah, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go for it. We left home, got after it, and just never looked back. That to me is the approach you have to have, all in. Now, you also have to have talent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you get yeses when you have talent. You put the song out and people like it. Like you get yeses. So someone said this to me and I always repeat it because it makes a lot of sense to me. This writer, Jedediah Jenkins, who's a really, really great writer. He said, you got to love the things that love you back And there's something there with like doing things that the road continues to unfold as you go forward. If it's not unfolding, you have to look at like, you really do have to gut check, is this good what we're doing?
Yeah, you got to be self-aware.
You got to be self-aware.
And that was a big thing, is like whenever I was doing music, like I knew, be honest with you, like I knew I could sing.
You're
like,
a great singer.
I knew I could sing, but I didn't think it was like people would hear me sing. And it's kind of like whenever you listen to yourself recorded, you're just kind of like,
it's hard to listen to yourself.
Yeah, I'm like, really? I'm like, I mean, I know I can do little tricks here and there. I was like, but do I really sound? But whenever I started working with Dave, it was more so of, this is what I know can do it. It's not so much of this self-awareness is, I know this is good. I know people will listen to this.
And I know I can sing.
And I know I can, and I know I could sell it. It's just more of the fact, how can I get the people that need to hear it to hear it? So that's where TikTok is really cool, because at that point, you know that it's good. You know that people want to listen to it, but who are the people that you got to get it to? So at that point, we released it. Well, we put it on TikTok. It's good. People like it. People are listening. Now that it's creating this buzz, the people that need to hear it are going to hear it. And so TikTok is great. It was pretty cool.
I will say that I've only been hyper aware of your music the last couple months because your name came in for this. And I'd known your band name. I'd seen, when a band starts to kind of make their way through up the touring, you start getting tours and you see the name more. You see it on like a festival thing, or you see it so I was aware of, and right now it's interesting because I think rock is on the beginning of this big surge. I think all these kids are getting into rock, and from all these different places. So that's why I tell bands, there's no rules right now, because all the fans that are coming in, they just are interested in rock, but it's not like they have an idea of what rock even means.
There's a lot of the people that are getting into rock have been into hip hop for so long.
Yeah.
And so like, it's a weird mixture. Like I feel like the emo thing is coming back. Like emo kids are just like, they're even more emo than the emo. I don't know. Like they're more emo
than we were, but I think emo I liken it to like skateboarding. Like every time it would come back around, it was bigger than the last time. I remember that when I was a kid in the 90s, skateboarding was big. It was like Tony Hawk and Steve Caballero and Christian Asoy and all these amazing skaters. And then it came back around. It was like Chad Muska and all these skaters. And then it came back around. And so with each time, the skaters have figured something else out and have given less of a fuck in where they take it. There's less rules each time. And now if you think about skating, it's an Olympic sport.
Right.
There's no rules of where a skater can put his content out or do, like it's just people skate. It was so kind of boxed in over the decades. And then it completely kind of came to mass culture in a way that there is no box. They're athletes and they can do what they want, where they want. They can have brands, or they can make music, or skaters can be there. It's a different thing today. And I don't mean to ramble, but
no, please keep going. I love it.
We stand on the shoulders of everyone that came before us in the prospective things we're doing. And as long as we understand that, we'll always appreciate the skateboarders that came before us, the rock that came before us. But we're not beholden to the old rules and the old ideas. So I think about that, and then I think about when I started really digging into your music. First of all, I think you're one of the most underrated or undiscovered yet by the mass rock audience singers. I think your voice is one of the strongest voices in rock. Like, it's really good.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm telling you, like, I'm a singer, but I'm not a singer. I sing as a function of what I had to do in the band, because that's when we were putting the band together. They were like, and what are you going to do? And at first I was like, maybe I'll play bass. And after like a week, I was like, I'm not going to learn bass. I'll sing.
Yeah.
And then I had to learn how to sing. Yeah. I'm an okay singer. I'm not bad, but there's singers. When I think of Adele, or I think of singers that I'm like, oh, there's a singer. There's some great singers. And when I heard your voice, I was like, oh, this is a singer. This This is a real singer. And now, wherever that came from, however you learned to sing,
It's a combination of a lot of things. Like my vocal influences are very, very vast. Like I'll say in this particular area of things, Johnny Craig was like the biggest vocal influence. Second to that would probably be Tyler Carter.
Okay.
And then after that, like it just kind of, it goes everywhere. Like I listen to a lot of Seosin. There's Cove, there's Anthony Green. Then you get into Boys to Men. Then you're all like into the Phil Collins of things. You got Michael Jackson. Then you have Freddie,
Jodeci, maybe?
like what is that dude? It's not Freddie Mercury.
Well, Freddie Mercury was a great singer, though.
No, he was. It's a man. I could. It's all over the place. It's just
Any Jodeci?
No.
I love Jodeci.
Yeah, no.
90s.
If Tevin Campbell, like
Tevin Campbell's amazing.
Tevin, so it's all over the place. I listen to a lot of Fall Out Boy, and
I mean Patrick is again, like I said this when I was talking to Pete, he came on the show. I think Patrick is one of the great and underrated. Like people give them props, but I got to work with Patrick in the studio, and I just heard him working, and I was like, this guy's a freak. He's just so good. And I think he just does it because he loves it. Like, I think he'd be happy in like a little blues bar singing like jazz and blues and all this other shit. Like, I actually don't even know if he was born a rock singer. I think he's just a singer. He's got soul. He loves the thing he does. And it's cool to experience that when you see someone who's just like a wild animal.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing that I really wanted to be able to do is if I'm put in one genre, be able to excel in that genre. Be put in this genre, be able to excel in that genre. So it's really, because at first I thought maybe I wanted to be an R&B singer. And I mean, like I did the R&B thing, and then I was like, well, I did the acoustic, and then I was just like, I just like rock music's more fun,
Yeah.
I feel like it's less of with hip hop and with all those things, like, I don't know. I feel like it's more judgmental in rap and
how you sing and
how you sing, or
singing.
like, and it's also we were talking earlier. It's just like whenever you listen to rock music, you can go back and you could listen to the first Linkin Park album, and you'd be like, "Yo, I love
classic."
Love this. Or you can go back and listen to the first Fall Out Boy album. But if you go back and if someone catches you, I guess you could say, listening to like an old rap song you like, you're immediately made fun of. Like, oh, that's that old stuff. Like this or that. Like
until you're my age, then you just get to do it flagrantly.
Or like, and then like if once you reach a certain age and you are like a rapper and you're a certain age, and they're like, oh, why is he still doing this or that?
Right.
So like with rock music, people are more fun, they're a lot more accepting and a lot more just interesting to be around.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
It's just a lot more fun.
So I have a theory about that. I think that there are elements of that in different facets of rock that I experienced, but again, at a different time in the late 90s, the early 2000s, things were still very, very much like genreified, classified. If you're this, you can't be that. I do think now all the rules have gone away, and I think there's more freedom across all genres of music, but it takes an artist to do that. If you second guess yourself when you're stepping over into this lane, everybody's going to eat you up. They're going to eat you alive. They're going to tear you to pieces. If you don't give a fuck, you're locked in on what you want to do, and you don't care what anyone thinks. You will usually succeed.
Yeah, it's an energy. People can feel like it's an energy thing.
They smell weakness.
Yeah,
and they test our weakness, and that's because we are the human beings, but also the animals we are. Is we're still just smelling who's for real, and who do I want to follow.
Right.
Because I'm gaining my idea. If I'm listening to your music, digesting your ideas and your thoughts and your mantra and your thing for several hours, I have to believe that you're not lying to me.
Right.
Doesn't matter what I'm thinking if I'm driving, if I'm working out, whatever I'm doing. I'm receiving your mantras, like what you are projecting into the world. It's going into my brain and into my psyche. And so I'm going to sit and watch as a fan. This is the fan's job. That's why I'm not mad at it.
Right.
I invite it at this age. Like, yeah, test me.
Right.
Because I believe in what I'm saying. I believe in what I'm doing. That's why also I don't do anything unless I believe it. I just learned that at a young age. I kind of got lost a few times where I was like, but that'll probably be really big. Oh, I'll go after it because I thought I needed to achieve the result instead of achieve the work.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so the fans are going to pressure test and smell test and authenticate every single artist to make sure that while they listen, they can actually receive the ideas and the messages subconsciously. Right. And I think whether they realize they're doing it or not, when something smells off and you're like, man, fuck that guy. They're actually just saying, I think he's lying to me.
Right.
And I don't want someone to lie to me.
Or you go from the approach where you just kind of having fun with it. They don't really, that's how it was with, and like you're saying, if you're going to go for something, you have to be able to sell it. You have to be able to like embody it, And so
even if it's just fun and meaningless. Yeah.
And so like I
agree with you.
With Gone or Stan, it's just with a lot of our music, we're just like, man, we just want to do it because it's fun.
Just felt good.
It's fun, So we took like Gone or Stan. It was just like someone's like, man, why don't we try some lo-fi stuff? We're like, that sounds fun, like rock music and lo-fi. And then we just leaned into like super R&B, and it's just alternative R&B rock with screaming, and everybody's like, this is amazing. Like, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, dude, it was an idea. We're sitting here looking at lo-fi thing, the girl writing, sitting on her desk with the pen. We're just like, why don't we do something like that? We're just like, okay. And then we did that. Then there's another song that we have. I called our producer. I was like, dude, I want to write a song like this. And he was like, I sent it over to him. It's Chris Brown and Drake. What is it?
No Guidance?
No Guidance. There it goes. Yeah. Like I sent that, and that was a song that we have. It's straight R&B. Straight R&B and pop. Like it hasn't been released, and I don't know where it's going to. But
one day.
Hey, maybe.
Do you live in Memphis now?
Yeah. Well, I live outside of Memphis. Yes. Yeah.
Memphis is cool.
Yeah.
It's a crazy city.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Every time I'm in Memphis, I'm kind of like, this is a different kind of wild that I'm not familiar with.
It's interesting. To me, it's not dangerous because I know where to and where not to go.
Yeah, it's home.
If you're in the hood, you might get robbed, but if you're not in the hood, then you're just in Memphis.
Yeah. It's kind of like Baltimore.
Yeah, there's not much to do. I mean, Memphis has an interesting layout. There's Bill. To me, this is the way Memphis is. There's Bill, there's the Peabody, there's Elvis.
Yeah.
And there's barbecue. That's Memphis to me. And there's ducks that go in and out the Peabody. I've never seen the ducks.
Great music.
Like,
But great music.
Yeah,
Great music.
Yeah. I mean, you get
celebrate the music.
I don't know. Like, I'm not that person where who came out of BB King? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Like BB King is in Memphis. I'm telling you, I'm not
3-6 Mafia.
Yeah, I was at Lafayette's, and the guy I forgot his name. I'm terrible with this. But he came up. He was like, "Yeah, I was in 3-6." I was like, "You're in 3-6." He was like, "Yeah, I was in 3-6." I was like, "That's cool." And then I went inside. Cool. I went inside. I'm not. I suck at this stuff, man.
That's okay.
Like somebody could walk up and sit right next to me. It could be the biggest artist, and I'd be like, "Yeah, I was in this." I'd be like, "Oh," and I wouldn't know. I'm terrible at this stuff.
That's good though. I'm one part you, whereas like I could meet anybody, and if there's somebody from a band, awesome. If we strike up a nice conversation, great. It also could be the guy that's working at the coffee shop, and we strike up a nice conversation.
Yeah, and
I enjoy that just as much. But then I have maybe some moments where I'm like, oh, I'm a fan of that guy. I don't need to meet him though.
Yeah. And the guy that I met, I just remember his name was in 3-6 Lil White, right?
Lil White,
I think. Maybe he lied to me.
Maybe.
No, Lil White's another rapper though.
Maybe he's from their like hypnotized minds.
Okay, I'm glad that you know that. Okay, but yeah, we took a picture together, like we were shaking hands, kneeled, and I don't know who this guy was. He was like, And we posted up and we took a picture, and I was like, this is.
I like Dolph. Dolph was from Memphis.
Yeah.
I was a big
There's
fan.
Dolph, there's Yo Gotti.
Yeah, Yo Gotti's from Memphis.
I mean, does Drake really count? I mean,
Is he from Memphis?
his dad lives in Memphis. His dad is known around Memphis.
Oh, maybe he's from Memphis.
So his dad is from Memphis, and whenever he was younger, he would come to Memphis. He has family in Memphis or whatnot. But now, I guess what you said is just like, I like this person, but I don't need to meet them. I've always been a lot of people be like, oh, I have so much respect for so and so much respect for this person. I'm like, for me, I don't really idolize anyone and I wouldn't even idolize them until I meet them or when I meet them, because at the end of the day, people throw respect around too easily.
Right.
Like, why do I respect this person? Just because they succeeded in in music? I respect people more at a personal level. Like,
Right.
you could respect people's, success, sure, but why would I respect this person as an individual? Because if I meet them, they could probably be the complete opposite of who I thought they were.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. So
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a nice surprise though when you meet someone and they strike you.
right?
And even if you didn't really know their music or
Right.
like I had this experience because I live here. So I'm in, I don't live in Hollywood, but I'm in LA. So like for the broader sense of Hollywood, you're meeting all these different artists and entertainers and of all kinds. And like every now and then you'll meet a guy and they'll be familiar to you. You'll be like, I know this guy from somewhere, but you'll end up having some like really great conversation. And then you become a fan of you start kind of following them in the world. It's pretty cool.
And that's how, for example, like I knew Shinedown and things of that sort. Just like when we went on tour with them, that's when I met them.
Right.
And I know them now on a personal level.
Right.
And so now I can say that guy's cool.
Yeah.
Like, I know this person. I have respect for them because it's not just the way they present themselves on whatever. Like, this is who they really are.
Right. You see how they operate.
It takes a lot more for me to just give my respect
Right.
to, whoever. Because that's
good.
So
You strike me like that though. Then you like I got that
appreciate
impression
that. I
of you.
appreciate that.
I was like, oh, this guy doesn't really give a fuck.
Yeah, I know.
But in a good way. Well, listen, there's a way. Like, I'm guilty of it sometimes.
Right.
There's a way I could go into a room and I could be a bit more political, and I may have my reasons. It might just be not to rock the boat. It might just be because while I'm here, I might as well present a certain way, whatever. But then that feels like work.
Right.
It's different than going in a room and being yourself and hanging out or going to a place, whatever. Not to say I'm not being genuine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You mold to your surroundings.
Yeah.
And the
Adapt
same-
to the room, and it's a music industry room, and I don't really know anyone. So I'm going to be friendly, but I always feel a little awkward. I've always had that problem. And I used to have to like drink to be in a room because I was just too nervous. Now, as I've gotten older and I've worked on myself, I don't need to do that. But not to say I don't sometimes, but but there is something about the truth of what you're living. It's like a truth. I'm gonna be myself.
Yeah,
and I'm open to. I'm gonna meet bands.
Yeah.
Some of them I'm a vibe with. Some of them we don't.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
And that's the main thing, man. It's just like I've always, and no matter how I go about doing something and how about I present, I'm just always going to be myself.
I get that.
There's no need to I feel like too many people try to people please. Too many people try to be someone they're not in certain areas to make sure that, just be yourself, and people will ultimately, and just like, it's easy to respect someone that's not trying to.
Yeah.
I can sniff it out, man. I can sniff when someone's being
You remind me of Sam from Architects.
Okay.
He's very much like that. The nicest guy, but not going out to meet everybody. But if you meet him, you're going to have that experience. He's a nice guy and he's respectful. But if you're not respectful, he's certainly not.
I definitely will give back the energy. I'm like, I'm never going to be outwardly rude to anyone, but it's just like if someone's being rude to me, I'm like, well, I'm gonna be rude to you.
Yeah, or I'm just gonna keep it moving.
Right, or keep it moving.
Yeah.
It's just like I don't have any interest in, I don't have any interest in, I don't know, how can I say it? I want to make friends, but if nobody wants to be my friend, then I'm going to keep it going. Like, I don't
Be okay.
like,
I'll survive.
As I told, Steve, our manager, and a lot of people before the music, I was like, dude, before the music, I was like, I worked with kids. I was like, I lived in an apartment. I was broke. I was like,
What were you doing?
I was after school counselor.
Oh, cool.
And so like, I was happy.
Yeah, you were.
I was happy
You were
with
being
life,
of service.
and I enjoyed my life. And at the end of the day, I felt like I was, you can't really take anything from someone that already feel like they've succeeded.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm happy in life. So I mean, like, whenever we start doing the music thing, nothing's gonna change.
That sounds like good parenting to me.
Oh man, the Moors, let me tell you, they drilled it into me. They
But
drilled
it
it into
seems
me.
like they were good parents.
Yeah, they're great. They are great. My dad was he was in the Army himself. He retired after 24 years. He was lieutenant colonel.
Wow.
And he was on me. And my mama,
So he was a little bit of a. You had the Army experience from like
not from dad. That's the thing that's crazy. Mom. Let me tell you something.
She was the drill sergeant.
She's a Cajun.
Oh, yeah.
She's from Baton Rouge. And
Oh,
they
wow.
don't play no games.
Yeah.
And so it was Fort Knox. And
That's crazy.
mama don't play no games.
That's good though when you have a mom who's like that
Yeah,
sometimes.
I'm saying this because she might watch the interview. So
She probably will.
I'm afraid.
Were they religious people?
Yeah.
Okay, so there was a value system.
Oh yeah. And still today, we go to church, and
So it's probably some of the singing probably comes from church, huh? Mine did.
it's
Not
just
that I
kind
like
of
singing those songs, but
Yeah.
I appreciated
it.
the vibe of a bunch
Where
of
it
people
come
singing.
from is grandma,
Okay.
and grandma, like, she
Dad's mom or mom's
dad's mom.
Okay.
And then
Is she a drill sergeant?
no, my grandma, my dad's mom, she sang, which then my dad sings, my uncle sings, my aunt sings, my other uncle sings, and her sister sang. So a lot of people, I think one of my cousins, which is she played in one of the movies. I think it was 12 Years a Slave. She's actor, singer.
Okay.
I could figure it out at somehow. My dad, he's super happy about all that stuff.
There's
But,
talent though in the family.
yeah, so
Right.
like, I just woke up into consciousness, and the very first thing I remember, my first memory I can remember, is me jumping on the couch with my dad in our family's apartment singing Bobby Brown, My Prerogative.
Yeah.
And I feel like that has been like, without even realizing it, it came to my realization that is kind of like, in a way, the way I live my life. It's a core memory, but
Yeah.
it's how I kind of based my life. I just do what I want when I want, how I just kind of.
And the idea that music is a joyful thing.
Yeah.
Like, we do music to feel a certain way. Most of the time it's an expression of joy, love. Sometimes it's an expression of pain, and it's a great way to mourn someone. It's a great way to deal with pain. But most of the time we're coming together in a joyful way with music. I think in rock, it's not like something we all talk about. Like, hey, everybody, let's have a joyful experience. But we are doing that. We're coming together to try and escape the pain of life and move forward together, right? Mm-hmm. I had the same experience. I didn't have a ton of really happy memories with my dad, but I remember one time he came home and he was in a good mood. It was kind of a rare, he always worked like 2 or 3 jobs, and he was always just tired, come home late, get up early. And that's what you saw. He got home early and he put on Stevie Wonder, I Just Called to Say I Love You. He put that record on, and he grabbed my mom, and they were dancing in the living room. And we all like heard it, and we like snuck down and like listened to it. And then we all went in, and we were all like laughing and like jumping around and whatever. And it was just like, that's what music is supposed to be.
Right.
A moment for people to come together and forget about everything. Even someone who otherwise been kind of a bad time most of the time, you got to see that side of him, and you're like, oh, and that was a side of my dad I saw a few times. And then when I was older, I saw it more because he had lived a life, and I think he had come to work some things out and realize some things. But it's those moments where you're like, that's the power and the importance of music, is the congregation of people that are.
Right.
It's why they sing in church.
Yeah.
Yes, it's to praise God, but it's also to ease the suffering and the pain of life for a moment together in like this happy moment. That's why bands are important.
Yeah.
You had all these fans that come and they all have everybody listening to this show, and people that like your music that are listening to this show would probably agree with me. They all have these complicated lives, all of us, some suffering.
You know, it's interesting that you said your dad because my grandma, every single year on all of our birthdays, right when you wake up, like you get a call and I just called.
Yeah.
Every single year. And so
Such a good song.
And so, you know, it's become a tradition.
You still do it?
Yeah.
That's great.
Whoever, like if it's the bandmates, if it's, you know, grandma, she passed away like 2 years ago.
Rest in peace.
But, you know, it's just like, even when she was lit, I kept the tradition going. You know, so I call her and I hit her with it, and she would take over singing. I'm like, I'm supposed to be calling you. What are you doing? Yeah. You know, but she would make a song out of anything. Like she asked you to bring in some milk, she'd make a song. I'm like, Grandma, it's just milk. Like she started singing about it. She started praise the milk. I'm like, Grandma, what?
But somewhere in that is you.
Right?
Somewhere in that is writing songs.
Right.
Somewhere in that forms your idea of music is free. Music is whatever I make it. Right. There's no rules, which is interesting, right? Like I said, I'm telling you, remember I said this because a few years from now, you're going to be somewhere, you're going to be further in your career. You are one of the best singers in rock music. When I hear your music, I think you guys, it's a matter of time. It's a matter of time and songs.
I appreciate it.
Just keep writing the songs. As long as you keep pushing to write better songs for yourself, beat yourself.
Yeah, don't complacency.
Just beat yourself every time. Just keep reaching. You're going to continue to create music. You have an opportunity though, as a singer in a space because it's just different. You can feel that the singing's coming from not a typical place. And I'm not boxing any other bands or grouping them together at all. I'm just saying what strikes me when I hear your music is I hear a singer. And now it's going to be about continuing the songs, because you guys have some standout songs. I think Numb is a standout song. Obviously it's done well, but it's a standout. There's another song I was listening to today. I'll tell you right now, actually. Gone or Staying is badass.
Yeah, that one's fun.
It's badass. Numb really stands out for me. I don't know how you feel about that. I hope you love all your songs.
Oh, yeah.
Paper Hearts is a great record.
Shout out to Steve.
Yeah. When I hear you talk about your grandma, I think about, it really strikes me when I think about my dad, the most joyful times I got to see from him was all about music. He would play You Are by Lionel Richie.
Good stuff,
play
man.
Bill Withers. All Bill Withers. He loved Bill Withers, so he would play all
good music taste.
Yeah. He loved good music. He definitely had good music taste. And we had a record player, so he would play him on vinyl. And those were very formative moments of seeing someone who was under the extreme pressure of a wife and 4 kids and job to job to job and figuring it out and how are we going to make the rent and how are we going to do all this, and piecing it together and trying to figure out life, also dealing with alcoholism and all this other stuff. The moments of joy and relief I saw when the record would come on was probably what predisposed me to wanting to make music, which I would also say to you, like the joy and the fun you got to have with your dad. And he likely lives vicariously through you.
Oh, man.
Because he dedicated his life to service. And when you do that,
he wanted to be a musician and he pushed, but then my mom pushed me out, and then he was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna focus on this.
I got to take care of my family.
Yeah, and so man, he's super excited. We played while on Beartooth. We played first. He came to Atlanta show.
Okay,
and then he was hanging out this and that.
Yeah.
He called me out a few times. He's like, hey man, you walked me out to the front. And a lot of people saw you walk me out there, and he was super happy. He's like, they're asking me to call you to come out and say, hey. I'm like, all right, I'll come out. And then
like, okay,
he's super
Dad.
excited about that. And we left Atlanta. Then we had to go to, I think we had to go to Charlotte. And then I was like, you going home? He was like, I was like, you want to go to, and he's like, yeah. He just wanted to, so he went. And then after that, I was like, so what you about to do? He's like, I might go home. I was like, you want to go to the next show? He's like, yeah.
Why
and
not?
then he drove out to Virginia, and he's retired now. So he's just like, man, I got time. I just want to, he's just super excited. He's always been the number one supporter, and he's
That's
just
dope.
Yeah, he's super excited about everything. So
I think that every single one of us, we are our parents. Not only are we standing on their shoulders, right? We would not be here. That's why I have eternal respect for my parents.
Right.
At an older age, I realized that. I didn't in my, all the Good Charlotte records, I was talking about my relationship with my dad because we were estranged through that whole time. And it wasn't until I was 30 that we reconnected. At an older age, when I had kids, I realized I'm standing on his shoulders regardless of his mistakes or anything.
right,
What's the new single called?
stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a banger.
Yeah, dude, I'm super. I think this is actually, out of all the songs that are going to be on the album, even the ones that aren't written. Well, actually, I can't say the ones that aren't already written, but the ones that are done. This will be the one that is like kind of the one that kind of puts us on the map a little bit more, I guess you could say. Like, it's cross genre.
Yeah.
You know?
It is kind of a cross genre. It's still got the heavy parts, but there's good melodic, catchy chorus, which I always love. I'm all about a catchy chorus.
Right.
It feels like it would be like on any format in rock radio.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah. What I like about it is, so the core building blocks that made me want to start Sleep Theory was Issues. So like the album Beautiful Oblivion was like, I was like, yo, this album is insane. It sounds like Issues got into I always said it sounded like they co-wrote with Bruno Mars on that album. It's just funky but heavy.
I love
also,
Bruno Mars.
You know, and so like it sounded amazing. And as we started writing a lot more Sleep Theory, it kind of got more away from the inspiration of Issues into a little bit more of something, whatever we are now.
Your early influence, Issues, Seosin, that world.
Yeah, so it became less like Beautiful Oblivion, the songs after, and then, but this one, to me, it sounds like an Issues song.
Right.
Like if they would have done Beautiful Oblivion and then did another album, I think that this would have been in the area of where they would have landed.
It's like your dream record if they had made it.
So
that's cool.
It's pretty cool. It's very fun. So
that's cool.
I'm
man.
excited for it.
And when does it come out?
It's coming out tomorrow.
Coming out tomorrow. Great.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Cool, dude. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Appreciate you, man. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Artist Friendly. If you really liked it, you can follow, like, subscribe to the show anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time.
Bad times, I don't